I wish all of you to be safe and well. This is our regular 7 p.m. People Goals conversation talk. This is the conversation together with the leaders and everyone participating in this revolution. We have leaders, we have representative from CSOs, experts, and all the youths in our conversation program. Everyone is heading to the revolution success. The core essence of the revolution is to reform all the idea and ideology. 7 p.m. conversation, this talk, it's where all of you can join on a weekly basis to listen to and to participate in. We have our international colleagues, international groups that we invite them to have in our program as well. And for the easier communication, we have interpreters working at the background of this program. Audience and participants in this program might think that, who am I in this program? I live in somewhere else. I live in the village. But each and everyone's awareness and participating with various form by each and every one, it's the strength of this revolution. With the collective strength, this revolution will be energetic. So this is the very reason that we invite everyone to be in this program. I am Thinzar Shunlei. I'm one of the members of this People Goal program. It has been over 730 days that we have the revolution, and there are public still very much at the top of their dynamic in the revolution, and we also have comrades having armed struggle as a form of revolution as well. We all know that it is the Union Day, which is the 12th of February. I would like to pose you a question of which you may answer your comment and opinion in the chat box. What does Union Day mean to you? This is the question. Please share your thoughts in the chat box as well. And we have a special program in this talk today with the topic that commemorate the 60 that commemorates the 76th year of signing the Pen Loan Agreement. Whenever we talked about the Pen Loan Agreement, federalism, it's what everyone has connotation of it. But then again, was the federalism actually implemented? Is it happening? So this is a thought that each and everyone has. But on the symbolic aspect of the Union Day, everyone wear its best clothes that represent their ethnic city. There were fun fairs and there were public events. But then again, when it comes to the meaningful engagement in the Union Day, do we really mean or do we really have any meaningful engagement in it? So this is something that it is to be questioned. And now we are talking about the new country, which is the federal democratic country. For that, the charter is adopted and endorsed by the public conference. But then again, in order for all these states to be united under the union, there are many reforms to be there. Whenever we talked about the revolution in the new union, what do we think of the union? So these are very topic that we will talk about. We have Khun Bedu, the leader of the KNDF. We have Yu Min. He is from PBLA, political officer. And we also have a member from GSCN, Comrade Newton. So we have all these speakers coming from different backgrounds. They are all revolutionary comrades in this movement. The very topic of the day is the essence of a new country. This is the topic that we will be discussing about. Now, Kun Bidu, I would like to invite you. First, we will start with sharing our experience as a first round of discussion. Do you hear me? Yes. What? How do you learn? How did you learn about the union? What does it mean to you? This is something that I would like to ask to you. So, in the past, before the coup d'etat, for other groups and for other organizations, the Union Day might be the day that they conducted the the demonstration. But for the government, they celebrate the Union Day. But would you please share your thoughts for the questions that I posed to you? Thank you. It's very nice to meet all of you. I am the chairperson of the KNDF and I am participating in this revolution. It is the 76th year of this Union Day. When I was young, we had Union Day celebration at schools. When I was young, I went to orphanage school, and when I was in middle school, I happened to learn about the the public event of the Union Day, celebrations of the Union Day. Whenever people talked about Union Day, the leader signed the Penlon Agreement in order to obtain the independence. And with this Penlon Agreement was the foundation of a nation or of a union then in order to be free. So this is what we learned when we were at school. I was I was not very good in terms of my school activities and in terms of my studies, but I still very much remember a particular event in 2004. I was in Thailand, liberated area. They celebrated the Union Day with a different aspect. They I learned a complete different perspective for the Union Day celebration um, by the ethnic group in the in the liberated area. So they celebrated in order to remember the essence of the Penlon Agreement, the core essence of the Union. So only then I realized that the Union Day I knew of, was not that meaningful, but it was only at that time that I mentioned I was 19. Only then I realized that we have to understand the 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 core essence, the the principles and the underlying meaning of the Penlon Agreement. While talking about Penlon Agreement, with the Penlon Agreement, General Aung San could manage to talk to the British to get the independence from them. And we need to have union spirit. we need to grow the union spirit. So it was the idea that I got from this specific Union Day that I mentioned when I was 19. Now, the leaders of the NUG celebrated the Union Day today as well. They try to reflect the core meaning or the principle and the essence of the Pelon Agreement. Now, action. Action is something that we need to talk about in the future to be a real union. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. You said that you were not that good in your study. So I kind of remember that when we were young, we had this Union Day essay competition. So the essay competition is always about we will never forget the Union Day, and then you wrote the essay for the competition, and some of us would join this competition. Not that we know how to write the essay, but we could learn some ready-made essay learning by heart and just write it there. So but anyway, what I learned from you is that we really need to reflect the core essence of a Penlon agreement on this particular day, which is a key takeaway for me as well. And now I would like to invite you, Anmin. You are the political officer of the BPLA. I would like to ask you, how did you learn the Union Day, and what would be your idea in terms of the Union Day? Thank you very much. I would like to greet everyone. Mingalaba. I am the political officer of the BPLA. I was from Sagaing region, the upper part of Myanmar, Anya, and my environment was not necessarily the discriminated area, I would say, in terms of socio-economic and educational perspective. Bamar were not discriminated or oppressed. So when it comes to Union Day, we don't take it very seriously. But I joined the university as a university student. I became a little bit of having the political awareness, and as a result of it, we realized that the national education policy has the feature of the Burma supremacy ideology. We boycotted, and the and I happen to understand the perspective, feeling, emotions of the non-Burma people. Then I thought that we were the same, but only at the university I learned that only in the university environment I learned that there are discrimination. There were discrimination among us. When it comes to the Union Day, there were all sort of public events, sport events, competition for essay writing, and I was the first runner-up of one of the essay competition on the Union Day, which is quite a remarkable. But anyway, to be short, I am Bama. So in terms of my perceptions on Union Day and Pelon Agreement, we don't take them very seriously. I did not take them very seriously. Burma did not have bitter feeling or bitter experience in terms of discrimination. But what I learned is that for some ethnic city, they they took Union Day as a day of their shame because they felt that they were imposed to grievances. due to Banlon Agreement and due to this Union Day. I knew that they had that kind of sentiment. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. And when we were young, we did not have all this communication technology. We did not necessarily have good communication among us. As a result of it, we did not know them, and we did not know their feeling as well, and we could not um, understood we could not understand their positions as well. And for example, Karenni people, I mean, we felt that Karenni people are from complete different world, although we live under the same union. So, for example, you are Min, you really change yourself in terms of your opinion after all this time, which is already quite a remarkable and positive for the future union as well. Now, I would like to invite Go Newton and please share the same. Please share your comments on the same questions. Thank you. My name is Newton. I am the representative of and member of the GSCN. I would like to to thank thank you for having me participating in this talk show so that I can share about the perspective on the Union Day. In terms of my background, I was born from humble farmers living in village cultivating. I went to village schools.
ဒီဟာမျိုးကျွန်တော်တို့ဖြတ်တန်းခဲ့ကြ
Of course, it is a day off for us when we were at school, and there were all these sporting events, etc., etc. And then when I joined university, I became like you and Min, the member of the student union, and I became one of the central executive committee member of the particular student unions as well. Only at that time we managed to communicate with our brothers and sisters from all across the country. Only then we learn about their perspective. Only then we learn about their context. And I happen to hang out with some of the very politically minded students as well. I did not read a lot, but some of my colleagues are very politically active in terms of their idea, in terms of their emotion, in terms of their their beliefs. What they said is that this pen loan agreement is quite a bully, and then even um, that contract, that agreement, sorry, that agreement is not even fully implemented. So they talked me like that, and then I happened to um, learn more about it after I came across with this kind of idea from one of my friends as well, and we happen to have more conversation dialogues around this pen loan agreement and the Union Day. And only then we realized that this the situation that we have is not a very ideal situation than it should be, because what we are in is a situation that is completely monopolized by by one of the ethnic groups. So this is how I became very much aware that we have to really reflect the core meaning of the true value of a union. Thank you. Thank you very much. You make me realize that the individual thinking and the individual attitude is very important. You were born in a particular context of which you could not choose. You were born as Bamar. You were born in the community which would practice the supremacy ideology, but nevertheless, I mean, once you have much more diverse knowledge of things, you could realize yourself and change your behavior accordingly as well. Now, we have our three speakers sharing their young experience on understanding of this union as well. Again, the perception on the Union Day, the perceptions on the Penlon Agreement are everything that we are talking about, and the the audience also share their thoughts in the chat box as well. Some of them are quite remarkable. I'm going to go through them as well before we have the second round of the discussion. We need to be righteous when it comes to the core essence of a Union Day. We have to respect and feel everyone is on the same ground, and we need to have a mutual learning among ourselves as well. Union Day is a day of solidarity. So we have to walk together, which is quite remarkable as well. We are talking about solidarity, we're talking about united ways of doing things, so which are all good. Now, let us talk about the Penlone Agreement. The ethnic leader engaged in this Penlone Agreement. Kayenni, Rakhine, Kayen were not part of the group, uh, but the legacy of the Penlone Agreement is what they have been with by very recently the previous government started the 21st Century Pen Loan Conference as well. But for the very first pen loan agreement, that very first pen loan agreement was the time before independence. So now I would like to ask Khun Netu, what would be the core Khun Bedu, what would be the core essence of the pen loan agreement in your opinion? Thank you.
Thank you for giving me another chance. When we look at the essence of the Palo, I think it is also important to discuss about the Palo Agreement per se. So Palo, a small town in Shunlei, where the Shanso boys, the Shan leaders met together, and the General Ausen came to Panlong. It was a long trek back in the days by horse, by car, to reach this small town to meet with the Shanso boy and with the Kachin leaders, as well as all the Qing leaders. They all meet all the ethnic leaders together to discuss together about gaining independence as well. And that so idea was is for coming together, the different states will come and stay together in the new union, and that once we get independence, we also the question of well, there was a big question of should the independence be given to the entirety of Myanmar, or should there be areas left aside as well? So that the discussion, mainly discussion, the agreement was made with the Shan of War, the Chen leaders, as well as all the Chen leaders. At that time, that along with the General Ausen, among those who are that they have those they are not some of the Karenni was not there. Karenni that and they were not there because Karenni was not in the group that were also in the discussion with the group as well. So there was a panel agreements made, and it is also one point we have to recognize it that Myanmar has gained independence after the panel agreement. Yes. But after the Palo Agreement, the discussion goes that okay, now that we will gain independence, and then we'll go into go into the discussion of how do we share the administrative power. There was also the elements of power sharing as well, and that even included in the parliament, who will have a right to attend the power sharing. It was also part of that discussion as well, and that that if you don't like being part of the parliament and then being part of this sovereign union, there was agreement that they will be able to leave if they don't find it satisfactory to stay together as well. Along with the Palo Agreement, there was also the provision that after 1947, the Palo Agreement was made, Then there was also the process of drafting the constitution. That the essence of the Apollo is that is about the implementation, as that those who are responsible and that have been that they have been responsible for the drafting that 2047 panel agreement, and for various reasons after the peace process. And there have been a lot of a lot of grievances and disagreement, and from Chin State, and also in and also in Kachin as well. That we have seen we have seen a lot of Emperor sisters going on as well in Kachin and Chen as well. So there has been an effort to try to resolve the conflict and resolve the issue, and that in 1974, and that we also have seen that the new constitution is 1974, and that to be able to implement that values of the values and essence of the Palong spirit, or the in other words the commitment of the spirit of the Palong. But instead of this happening, what we have seen is that we have seen that a large public uprising in 1988, and the military took power, and they drafted a 2008 constitution. So if you look back on the history from Palo, that we haven't seen much of the implementation of the essence of the spirit of the Palo as well. We don't have seen it yet. So that in other words, that the Palo, the essence of the Palo has also has been lost as it was well. That we also seen that a large scale of a civil war in Myanmar in different parts of the ethnic areas as well, and that so the fact that Palo Ascents has not been implemented, has not been agreed upon, it is a much of an issue as well, and that along with that, we also have seen also the challenges, and that with the that there was also another endeavor to reanimate the Palo. We have seen the 21st century Palo conference, where there was also that agreement, and that there has been efforts to go to the ceasefire. Ceasefire has been agreed, have been tried many ways under the new way. Also, there has been a various call for peace with the ethnic that an organization. Everybody has also have encouraged about getting into about giving the trying to bring in the commitment of the panel as well, and even in the DOS under the DOS Suchi under the office of DOS Suchi, that there was even an effort to develop as well, and that to be able to establish as well that and that that there has also been efforts to be able to try as well, but in doing so it can that if we look back on the agreement of the Apollo, we can say that was transparent. There has been the agreement reached remains superficial. It does not have a political will, nor the essence of political reforms or the commitment. So that and that which has given rise to the 2020 general elections, and then that the military coup that we are now encountering. So to answer to your question, that what about the essence of the Apollo? How do you feel the essence of Apollo, and how do you see that as a below, and that what for us is that we have we have participated in the revolution as much as possible, and that I think it is important to look back on the history, that the essence of Palo, or the essence of Palo, the spirit of Palo, has been lost along the time, along the witches, around the period as well. I think it is important. So there are two ways we can do it to restore the spirit or the essence of the Palo. That politically we could try to our best to be able to reach the goal as well, and that on the other hand, I think it is also important that it is also important that we try to that with the Palo, the agreement, and that with the Spring Revolution, we also need to think about how do we implement it. As something we all need to think about as well. But as it was written in one given by the comment as well, I think it is also important for us to be able to work together, and that to ensure that that all the communities have that it is also important to recognize the right to self-determination of the ethnic communities, and that for us that it is important to ensure that we have an agreement or a settlement that is in line with all the different ethnic communities of Myanmar. In that case, then the spirit of the Palo or the essence of the Palo will be fully in today's date and time. So thank you thank you for giving us bringing up the history in the short amount of time as well, and that we have also seen that what has been happening, the challenges, as well as on the how we can also go forward. Thank you for sharing and making the point. My follow-up question is about the way of thinking as well, because right now that we are talking about what we are talking about is about building a new nation, and that it is also important to look at the concentration of different stakeholders here, that in the past, what we have seen is that we were under the military regime, so we only have a not a real, but it's just more of a like a not a genuine union back in the days under the military regime of the past dictators as well. I think it's important to change along with the mindset, and that it is also important to change the mindset, because people are going for a different system, different way as well. I think it is important to listen to the recommendations or the points raised by our leaders who are working on the ground. So we also like to encourage you to ask questions and participate in the discussion as well. I would like to follow up the question. I would like to follow this point with this one. So especially to you and me, that as a BPLA, and that like Kombidu has as a Kombidu explained, you know what I mean, that so in that what are the new consideration for the revolutionary forces? What are the new ideas and new concept on the state building, nation building, and the building of the new political system for Myanmar? What will be your new ideas? What will be the new perspective for nation building in current state and time? Well, Palo, it has been that the historic lifeblood as well, that it is that we cannot escape from the Palo. So in the end, that Undu had came back to Palo, and then Aung San Suu Kyi also had came back to Palo. I believe that Palo could be answer to that the conflict as well. That how do we move forward with Palo? Is that if we were to say that people have said a lot about Palo, and that in terms of implementation, then yet it's not be successful. Why haven't we been able to build peace? I would like to share some of my ideas as well. In my in my opinion, is what was the ground on which the different groups work together when they engage with each other? What the ground do they use? I'm Bamar, so I'll be speaking from the Bamar perspective, or the Bamar point as well. That when we think about it, a government, we have a central government, and then we also think about the sharing from the central union. But we also need to think about in a different way as well. That what about the others? What do we need to build? How do we build that? It is important to build different nations, different states, and then what will be the different systems as well, and that through this that it is important to have that. Only then that non-Burmese will be able to have that trust in the Burma community. It will also ensure that there will be equality as well. That rather than just talking at the table, we need actual implementation to implement the PALO and to implement PALO. Another point is that something that is encouraging for us is that with the 2020 and 2021 and that the coup d'etat, we have a very distinct characteristic. The majority, the Burma majority, that most of the Burma majority have started has to talk loudly, have the raise their voice about the equality as well. Now they are trying to think more about what is happening as well. Though there is more understanding about the issues of the oppression of the minorities as well, and this is something we see. And you also have seen very clearly about the strong that is the fighting, and that as well as on the what is happening that is in other ports as well. So we are also I think that is the changes we are seeing compared to the past as well. So as for BPLA in the past, so the in the past nation building that we had before. How do you see it? As a Combidu also has said before, if we were to, analyze that if you were to discuss the follow-up the panel, you have the 1947 constitution, which is lead to 74 constitution, and that of the 2008, and that I think it is agreed that the concept of panel is that it is important for all of us to be able to have equal for the equal idea of equal opportunities for all that. How does PBLA see that? How do you see what happened in the past? Well, these differences and this lack of the equality has led to over 70 years of civil war. That's how I see it, because what happened in the past is that that it is as a Bamar, and not as a BPLA. Let me speak that it is important to recognize what has happened in the past and what went wrong in the past. Although I have done it, I haven't done such kind of apology, but I have recognized that the grievances or that what the other communities have suffered under such a system, that it is important for the different groups of Burma to recognize it as well, and that we might need to the recognize and apologize. We might also need to do something with this, and that's the answer that all of us know, that if I'm not mistaken, because in before the coup, the essence of panel has been gone for quite some time, and that's why the conflict has prolonged in Myanmar. So that you talk about is a recognition as well as, and that recognition as well as on the providing the public acknowledgement and apology. These are important steps that we might need to go forward as well. So thank you for sharing. So we also have received another comment. We want a genuine secondary as well, that because along the history that we have always been and not a real federal union, because although that it is also the union is only in name and it's not real. So based on that, don't you want to add anything to the discussion? Okay, yes, let me share. So when we say that, if we look at that thank you for this opportunity to participate in the discussion, and that I'm also honored to be part of the discussion here, because as a GSCN, we are just from GSCN. GSCN is established with 31 ethnic communities. So in a way, and that also gave me an opportunity to listen to the voice of the 31 ethnic communities. So here, that's what I try to be to normal as well. As two other comrades have discussed, I would like to add to the discussion that, in the past 70 years ago, what have happened? That we are discussing about what we were not able to do about what has been agreed 70 years ago and still hasn't been done at all. And it is tragic that we are discussing, that never been something that we have never been able to accomplish. But at the same time, I consider this an opportunity, something that we need to be glad about, because Palo agreement, Palo had been, once upon a time, Palo has been a ray of hope, and people have been so happy on the agreement. And from the 3rd of February to the 12th, the Congress was organized in Palo. We can literally imagine how happy people have been to reach the agreement after a long discussion, that to see a ray of light, to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and yet that all this happiness, all this gladness and joy had been in vain, because nothing has come out of Palo agreement. And Palo is a failed agreement that has never been able to implement. When the General Aung San discussed with the different other leaders, the Shan Sobwa, that I think that Shan Sobwa has said that system, and that the Shan Sobwa said that Aung San does not represent us. So the discussion with the outside does not concern the frontier areas or the hilly regions. And that was a session. It was a session of war which has sent a telegram to the British government, and that was the Nyang of war who has sent the telegram. At the time, General Aung couldn't do anything. As a person who was going to negotiate independence from Myanmar, had to come back and that to deal with this as well, to address the issue. Even before that, there has been a Balloon agreement has been done as well, and that that what happened before Aung was able to come is that whatever happens, there was always there has been discussion with the John Yang and others, but that there has been problems with the ethnic community as well, and that even during the agreement, even during the discussion on the panel, the agreement wasn't reached between the third to the 12th of February. And there were also progressive groups was also try to lead the discussion, put pressure on the Shrine Letter. Well, can we not? You are the leaders. Why can't you reach a decision? There was a lot of pressure from the outside that panel and started to, in a way, shift dramatically. Just before the 12th, that there were a lot of panel drafts, and that only on the 12th that the final draft was agreed upon and reached. So if we look back on the history of Palo, and that Palo agreement is not something easily reached or easily done as well, and that among the ethnic groups, among the Kachin, or that that we have also have that Kachin since that at the Nampan Craft Village in Kukai Township, Kachin leaders have met and they discussed, and that they started on the 1st of February. They had a meeting and they started talking. Which one will we discuss? What will be the topic we discuss? What will be the context of Kachin? And they discuss. And very interesting point they have made in the draft is that the states may secede if they want to, and that was the secession clause was there, and that even in the amount the Shen Sobwa as well, that and that that the Shen Sobwa also wanted that clause also in that as well, and that is that it was in when the BIA was established, that was the agreement as well, and that so that also shows the lack of trust that they have on the Bamar community as well, and that General Aung San took a lot of time to enjoy it as well, and that so long as the agreements were not able to be ratified, there was also an dollar agreement, and then say that okay, so he has gone back to where he was, temporarily, his temporary accommodations, and think it is important that panel agreement that we need to address the concerns of the community, and then he even said to his entourage that he's quite concerned that the panel might not come into power, and he has called for the helicopter that we are going back. So I don't remember it's exactly the date. An ambassador started to start the rumor that General Sa is getting ready to go back. This Balong dialogue is going away, and that at the same time Utomye, Adauji, and others who are very progressive from the ethnic communities, and that they are saying that they started to push more pressure on the Shan Sobwa and other leaders. It is important for us to to place the federal union, and that was also in a way all these political plays had been beautifully done and beautifully managed across the political board of trust, so to speak. But it is not what we are saying right now as a meaningful as well. But what we understand from the GSCN is that Palo Agreement is that different ethnic communities can, agree, make the agreement to build a union of diversity of different colors. It is a historical proof that we had that in the past we came together and agreed to build a union, and that was the proof of a collective leadership as well. So now we are talking about collective leadership. If we look at the idea, I think what is needed to revive and bring forward is the spirit of the collective leadership. That's what we need to bring forward from the Palo Agreement as well. And this is something we have been reiterating oftentimes in this Spring Revolution for this building of the new federal union as well. We have gone through various governments, both public and otherwise, but that none of the past governments, prior governments, have been able to accomplish this spirit of the Palo Agreement. It is important that in this Spring Revolution, the Spring Revolution is a time for a collective leadership to emerge successfully. It is important that as it is stated in the national anthem of Myanmar, that it said we want the land of land of equality, justice, independence, and that as in the status in the national anthem, it is important to bring forward the spirit of that quality leadership, and that that it is important that diverse community should be able to survive in their different varieties as well, and it is important we need to carry forward as well that thank you, Yvonne Newton, for a very comprehensive discussion. And that thank you that it has been very interesting. And we really feel deeply that we as if we're there as well. And that in the opening, when you give it this, how Palong has been a small town giving a big hope to the Palong has been the harbinger of the good hope to the people of Myanmar. And that it has bring light, it has shed light to the Turkish time as well. That the Palong Agreement has, it was the Palong was effort to be able to reach the light at the end of the long journey of the darkness, and that with the Palong Agreement has given a lot of hope to the people as well, and that what that we are that trying to that we are now that we are also in the same situation where we are federal units or the federal states with which are defending their territories from the military counter, and at the same time trying to establish everything. So we have the KNDF, we have the GSCN, we have different stakeholders, we have different democratic bodies working for the building of the political state. It is inspiring. It is also giving us a motivation as well that after 76 years of the Palong Agreement, we know that that the union has not been genuine in the past, and now we're looking back on the history and the lessons from the past, and that this generation will be more brilliant, intelligent in learning from the past, and to be able to go forward with the new concepts and new ideas. So that's why I have asked, well, what will be the new concept and new ideas for the nation building and the political system as well from the if I were to summarize some of the points that have been raised by our speakers, that we had learned about collective leadership regarding gaining independence or the building autonomy or that bringing building a union or the Spring Revolution. That so the essence is in this collective leadership, and like you and me said, continue to mention, it is also important to see not only collective leadership but also accountability and responsibility, and it is important to learn the lessons from the past. That it is important to look back on the history, look back on the past, and look at what has gone wrong and what we have missed and what were the mistakes and the errors of the past. It is important to learn from them. If not, the Union Day will be just a fashion show wearing the ethnic costumes, nothing more. It is important to be more substantive in the essence of celebration as well. And that's what I have learned, and that's what I have noted from the second round of the question and answer from our speakers. That we also have a few participants who have raised their hands and waiting for a chance to participate. So that I will be giving you a chance to ask questions as well. And that while you're listening to our speakers, feel free to raise your hand, because you'll get a chance to be part of the discussion later on. Let me go to the last round of questions. So this times we'll be looking about the recommendations. So I would like to first give a chance to Kombidu. Kombidu, are you still here? Yes, I am. So thank you for giving us your time despite the busy schedule. So right now in Myanmar, we are trying to build a new political system through this revolution. So what are the potential for the emergence of a new political system in Myanmar? Well, we are that right now that it is important for us to realize that we need to go for a political system, because the old political system or the existing political system don't work, and that they never able to address issues. So what we need a new political system is a system that go beyond the military dictatorship, and the essence of the Palong is said that since New Wing had conducted the first coup d'etat in 1962, that when he started installing Myanmar under the military dictatorship, that started back in the 1962, so leading to military interfering and holding all the powers economically, politically, socially, and they use and abuse the power they hold as through the military regime as well. And through this, we have that has diminished our hopes for quality as well as on the equal rights with others. And that also means that they have they have rid the country of the hopes for the future as well. In other words, that we are with the longer we are at the military regime and dictatorship, the farther we are from the spirit of the Palo. So that now we are seeing another coup d'etat in 2021. It's been 2 years since the last coup d'etat. That it is important to look at the objective of our revolution. Our revolution is we need to abolish 2008 constitution, which is the backbone of the military dictatorship and the military controlling the power. We also need to ensure that the military will not be able to revive and to be able to control the country. It is important that we need to abolish not only the constitution, but also to draft a democratic constitution that will ensure and guarantee the rights of the communities, which will also give rise to the most the suitable political system for Myanmar, so that people will be able to enjoy the rights that they are entitled to. We need to develop a new constitution that will also ensure that our new political system will be strengthened, and that the old political system of the judicial regime will never be able to raise their head once again. It is also important not only to draw and develop the constitution, but it's also to implement it. As many ethnic states and ethnic areas have participated in the revolution, we are also seeing that the resistance and the resistance against the military in the central area as well. Right now, we may not know that whether we will win this revolution, by the definite answer, yes or no. But that said, what we have seen with across the country through that, we are also seeing more and more dialogue between the different leaders and for the different communities. We are also seeing more of a social agreements, and that more of exchange and discussions and consultation going on, and that it is also that we are also now going through the administrative system, which is in line with the federal constitution. Like it's a guy going on in other areas, we are always establishing our administrative system, which are more in line with the federal union. These are the beginnings to the new political system, and the new political system, we hope that we'll be able to bring on and carry on and implement what the people want as a political system in Myanmar. I would like to answer this way to the question as well. So you're not talking about the potential that we must go. What you're saying is that we're not talking about the potential anymore. We must and we have to, and we have already started the new political system, and that this political system is inevitable, is essential in Myanmar, that will come with a new constitution. It is important to continue fighting both non-violently and in resistance against the military junta as well. What are the challenges if we will there be if we were to draft a new constitution? What do you see in terms of challenges? Looking at the constitution drafting from my perspective, to be able to develop a good draft of the constitution, that will be the goal in developing it. That in the past we have it is important it is important to look back on that 2010, 2020. There has been a very, positive support of the people, and that we also had there were also that, there was also the Democracy Charter, as well as what they're referring to what the people want, what the community wants. I think it is important to take this as the basis to draft the constitution. The draft constitution will need to take time to develop, because in Myanmar, what we have seen is that it takes about 10 years. It takes 10 years to develop the constitution, and then this constitution collapses into nothing. So it is important for us to develop good and strong constitution, draft constitution, and it's also important to ensure that the constitution give us a solution to end that civil war. It is also important to consult different stakeholders and the forces as well. It is also important to consult the people and get a referendum as well. I do recall that the 2008 In 2008, I was in prison for boycotting against the military developed constitution of 2008. We don't want that to happen again. We want a consultation of people. We want public consultation. Right now, with the technology, we are doing online consultation. We can also do the consultation in person on the ground. But it is important to put all the efforts to develop a good draft of the constitution. But while developing the constitution, it is important not to forget the past. It is important to look at the past and see what people have been clamoring for, and it's important to put these in the constitution as well. So that I'm sure there are also other challenges, security-wise as well as on the consultative-wise as well. It is important that constitution drafting is a new bit as well, and that although the journey is difficult and turbulent, it is important to move forward and develop the draft constitution. It's also important to abolish the 2000 constitution once and for all. Now, the UN mentioned the Federal Democracy Charter. So people when people talk about the Federal Democracy Charter, people might think that the charter is not a law, it's not a legislative framework. And even when you type it on the Federal Democracy Charter, you will see both in if you Google it, you will see there are maybe like about 50 or 60 pages. There are ways you can also learn about the Federal Democracy Charter. Federal Democracy Charter is trying to write in the simplest terms as well. If you type it below agreement, so below agreement only have 9 clauses, just 1 page. I think it is important for the youth to read and learn from it as well. I think it is important to encourage learning. Thank you for the recommendations, Bedu. Now, I would like to invite you and me as well. You have made as a youth, you are participating in this process. What are the challenges you see as a youth? Of course, I think Bedu has already responded to the question about the potential of the political system in Myanmar. So, what are the challenges you expect? What are the challenges that you see? I want to add to the first question as well about the new political system to be able for us to be able to achieve a genuine federal democracy system in Myanmar, and that it is important to change the new constitution as well, and that not only that it is important that it is also important also deal with that there was also the terminological debate and dilemma that also need to be addressed as well. In addition, the new flag, there are a lot of new things we need to decide upon, and that is important. What are the challenges? In terms of challenges, that like I have mentioned earlier, that it is important for us to have a clear idea what will be the basis of our background. Where do we stand from? Where do we remain grounded? That if we want a genuine federal union, that how can we make sure we can build a federal union as well? That is something we need to take consideration. We need to find an anchor point, or do we make ourselves flexible to the system? That's also something we need to take into consideration. So what will be our challenges, the values, and that the values and the standards could be challenges as well, because right now I'm seeing a lot of dangerous things, because the values and the standards is some people think that, oh, this is just it's just bullshit, that now we're talking about that. Now we are also seeing people endangering the lives of their non-CDMs. That I think people have the right to live, and right to live is important, and right to live is a quintessential the human rights. And that right now people are saying that the focus should be on winning the revolution, and that we are seeing that there are those who are entities who are do whatever they can just to win the revolution, and that is that ties to the value as well. In a country, it doesn't matter how chaotic the country is, it is important for us to adhere to the values and the standards we have set upon us. Soldiers are citizens who wear uniforms, nothing more, nothing less. They are wearing uniform, they are also citizens as well, and that so the value of the BPLA is that will not change no matter what situation or context we are in. That's the value. That what are our values? Our values our values and standards might be adhered to even in battle and out of a battle situation as well. It's the same for all any forces as well, whether you're a government force, whether government or that you are individual or you are in the armed organization, it is important to adhere to the value because we are fighting for democracy. That it is important that we exercise democratic standards and democratic values. If you want democracy, you must and be part of the system or the democracy. And that is my biggest concern. That's what I also see is missing in the current situation. That we seem to have no sight of the standards and the values that we must adhere to. In building the new nation, it is important to develop a new constitution. I agree that is a common agreement. Everyone agree. But what do we need? What are the challenges? It is important that we must keep inside our standards and values at all times. Just a reminder to all of us, because to the participants who are listening to us through this at different pages, some of you might be in different revolutionary forces, and this is important. I need to highlight this one, that we must adhere to the standards and the values as well. And that you're right, that as you are saying that people are saying that it is important or as to remind ourselves, like you and me have said before, that it is important to remind ourselves of the democratic standards and democratic values, because the society that we're going to build, the federal union that we're going to build, what kind of standards and values were that, it is important to enshrine them, it is important to incorporate them, adhere to them since this moment. This is the current time. That there could be many reasons and many protests. If we are to violate such standards and values, then in the future nation that we want to build, then the future political objective goal, we will probably be returning back to where we come from. Thank you for reminding us this important point, and that it is important that the standards and the values must be that of importance to us as well. So now that we also have seen several hands raised by the participant, we will provide you time for that as well. Our three speakers will remain on the Zoom meeting room, so some webinar room, so they'll be there. Do not worry. So we'd like to invite the next speaker to respond to the question. I would like to invite Comrade Newton, that as GSCN, looking at the current political landscape, that drafting the constitution, and that we are now on the journey for drafting the constitution. At the same time, that we are also encountering challenges and difficulties. It's even more and more evident. So the longer it takes, the challenges become bigger, the difficulties also grow as well. So how do you see the challenges? What will be your recommendations?
Thank you. Well, talking about the Spring Revolution, the GSCN, it's one of the groups participating in NUCC. Talking about challenges, I would like to mention two. We have the partner challenges, and we have challenges with our enemy, which is the military. So these are the nature of challenges that we are having these days. Talking about the challenges with the enemy, everyone know it, so I am not going to talk about it, but I would like to stress about the partner challenges. When it comes to the partner challenges, the GSCN view this revolution to reform the system. Looking back the history, the institution or individual monopolize the whole union. The union endeavor and journey was never smooth. Why? Because there has never been the collective leadership which is which was mentioned, or which was the value of the Penlon Agreement, And that value was always lost. So now we need to have the political landscape that recognize the diversity, pluralism, the vibrant of color in the country. So this is a historical duty of everyone, and it is a duty that can be seen as a legacy of each and every one. We want to have every kind of flower in the country, every flowers, its beauty. I would like to mention one thing as a youth at the very beginning of Spring Revolution. The Spring Revolution emerged with extraordinary dynamic and energy at the very beginning. And along this way, the military tried to distort this revolution by attempting for divide among the leaders and groups in this revolution. Prime Minister Mao Wing Kaitan and Foreign Minister Dozen Mount of the NUG and other leaders consistently mentioned that they will never betray the journey or the direction led by the public leader. But then again, for me, for us, this is the revolution not depending on any individual leader. We are all together in this revolution in order to seed the responsible and decent society and nation and country. I believe all our comrades in this revolution that we are revolving the individualism and monopolization by an institution or by a group. What we need is collective leadership. Collective leadership can collective leadership can build a new nation, a new country, and only collective leadership can bring the justice. This is the common agreement that each and every one of us should have. Only with this common agreement, the Spring Revolution will be sustained to be able to reach to its goal. Thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution in this panel discussion with the title Essence of a New Nation. And I hope that the audience would realize all of your points. Now I will begin the discussion with the member of audience, the public. I do like to apologize for your patience and being with us. Silent, you raise your hand. Please discuss your point, and after that, I will read out some of the question in written. Thank you. Now, the floor is yours, Silent.
Hello, cha làm gì vậy?
I hope that you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you, and then please introduce yourself first, and then please mention the person that you would like to raise your question to. I am one of the CDMRs from engineering background. Now, would you please proceed with your questions or comment? Thank you. Thinzar Shunlei go Khun Bedu you amen, and I would like to greet you. I wrote down my comment. There are 4 pages that I wrote down as my comment. But anyway, I will try to be brief. I would like to congratulate everyone participating in the revolution. I particularly congratulate the Generation Z of this Spring Revolution. And what I am trying to say is that, in brief, the partner challenges is something that I would like to talk about. We need to have a strategic communication. I support wholly for that. And all the panelists, may I continue? Yes, we are listening to you. Please continue with your point. And all the panelists, you really make, reference to all these dates in the history, and Newton from GSCN, you make all the historic references, but I would not necessarily rely on the historical references, because one can never be certain, right? When it comes to all the historical reference, you mentioned some of the names from the history, but what I would like to say as a CDMR, based on Dr. Zoe so mentioned, is that we want only 2 things. Let me refer to my notes because I wrote down my notes. I got that. Well, we want only 2 things. The military dictatorship will never be in Myanmar. That is one thing. What we want, and we want to have the genuine democracy in this federal democratic country in the future. So these are the only 2 things that we want from this revolution. Well, you know what? We are from all the different background with our own different knowledges. I'm not here to to debate with you or argue with you. But the thing is that, for example, Yebo Newton, you mentioned about the collective leadership, right? So there is the collaboration, right? I wholly support that. And one of our sister from the panelists said that that there is the Burmese um, supremacy ideology. I am a Burmese as well. I know that, and I agree that that kind of ideology needs to be abolished, need to be disappeared. I agree that, and 2008 constitution has to be gone, and the coup d'etat, coup d'etat by any standards, not meeting the principle of the constitution at all. So anyway, we really have to work together in a collective manner. We really have to collaborate as well. And there are things that are not mentioned as well. Well, if I may interrupt you, please mention the points that this conversation miss. Well, we need to have collective leadership. The partner partner challenges, it's to be addressed by the strategic communication. So everyone can use Google these days as well, so you may learn all of them in detail as well. So what I'm trying to say is that we also need to have the collective leadership as well, and we also need to have DIP. Dr. Mimi Wim But mentioned that. So we need to have, I mean, DIP, and everything stands with own meaning as well, right? So if you use DIP, um, I, for example, is the international support. P is the participations of people as well. Well, the thing is that we definitely need to have, um, I mean, everyone on the same boat as well. And other point that I would like to mention is that we all are the victims of the we all are the victims of the system. And then that girl, Min, she mentioned something like this. Well, gentlemen, Yuan Min is not girl anymore. She is the political officer of the BPL. Thank you. Well, you mentioned strategic communication, you mentioned DIP, which are very knowledgeable for everyone. Indeed, we definitely have to, learn about that as well. Now, I would like to invite Ian. Please proceed with your point. Thank you. I am not going to take long. I just would like to say thank you, everyone. I have been over 60 years old. I am not taking the room of the younger generation. I have to remove myself and to give the floor for them as well. And of course, there are some ego, selfishness, and weak in active listening for better good of the country, among the the leader of a country, including Don San Suu Kyi. Well, the thing is that we definitely need to point out the wrong, because if you like her, if you like someone, it is your responsibility to point out the wrong with the one that you love as well. You need to point out the wrong to them if you love them as well. Anyway, the problem that we have is that currently we do observe that if someone follow the instruction of an individual, if someone just do according to the idea of particular organizations, then this is the dictatorship. But now we just really have to um, get the learning. No one is perfect, but we just have to take our own value as well. And if you looked at the strategy of the military, they use the same old brand new strategies. My mother died at her age of 80s. My mother was the member of the uh, Bakapa, and she she really taught me about all this communist standpoint. But the thing is that I got trained that you need to analyze and aware what is right and what is not right, what is wrong. So that is how I live my life. And all I would like to say now is that we all are the victims of the military dictatorship. No one is free from it. So I would like to say that we are weak. We are not good. well, I'm not victim blaming in here. We are not good. We are not that clever in this whole situation because we accept the play or we accept the tactic of the military. But the military is not clever. It's just that they use the old tactics as well, and we accepted that. So, what I would like to say is that for you, my children, your seed, it's to be a brave one. You need to be explicit in terms of what you want. You have to proceed with your own belief. I don't see your such action as the actions of such actions of stupidity. But what I would like to also mention is if the older generation really want a better future, the older generation and the government also will have to be very clear that if they are wrong, they have to admit that they are wrong. But they would not do that in the past as well. And in past 60 years, public were not politically aware as well. And we do not want the popularist government. We are at the end of our lifespan. I do not want to have generation after me having in the same situation. I am one of the CDMRs as well, and we also have non-CDMRs as well. It is not that I did not forgive with them. It is not that I can understand them as well. But you really have to aware who you are. And I always say this: if my younger generation approach me, that please make it clear what you are doing and don't be the informant of the regime. Please do not accept the tactics and evil job of the divide and rule. When I was out of the country, I compared the the international situation with Myanmar, and I felt always said about Myanmar as well. And if you looked at the current world updates, we have this Turkey-Syria earthquake. International community helped them so much, but look at us. So the point is that we should not give the room to the military for them to play on us. If you care the interest of a public, if you care the development of your area, of your places, don't take your personal interests prevailing everything, but work together with NUG and UCC. This is the message that I would like to give to everyone. Thank you. This is the open link. This is a public open link, and you are invited all the time. Please join with us. And we even have the audience from the military, and some of the military audience would say all the hate speech, or otherwise some of the military audience would brainstorm their opinion in here. So except from hate speech, everything is all welcome because this is the public forum as well. And you talked about wrong to be pointed out and corrected, and then make it open, right? If you're wrong. That is what I learned from you. Well, then again, I just would like to be very brave. Know yourself if you're wrong and correct it as well. I repeat that to everyone. And in this country, blood, blood of the public shed, blood of the student shed, and and all this atrocity happen all the time. And we are in this vicious cycle. For how long that are we going to um, have this kind of atrocities? I am not here protecting the non-CDMRs, but while you are talking about all the decent values and decent standards, then you have to be decent in dealing with the non-CDMRs as well, because dealing the non-CDMR with your personal emotion is not right. That is what I'm trying to say. Thank you. And we had the CDM discussion in a few weeks ago as well. And then in here, I just would like to draw ourselves to this very topic, the essence of a new nation. So let's look at other questions as well that we have in it written. The question is about, do we have to correct the the pen loan agreement that we have, or do we implement the previous pen loan agreement, or do we start from the scratch? And would we want to have the geographical partition for units rather than based on ethnic compositions of a unit and form the central government accordingly? So there are four options basically. It's mentioned which option would be the way to go for the new nation. This is the question actually. So I would like to invite Comrade Newton for this for your response. Thank you. I will come up with the general answer if I follow the question. Well, I remember what I learned for the dynamic at the time of the pen loan negotiation. The kitchen leaders talk with Johnson. The kitchen leader asked General Aung San to include the districts, the parts, and the areas for Kachin to take. And General Aung San replied that we principally agree your idea, but it is not my own decision, and I have no power whatsoever to give you this district, that area, and this local to Kachin people. And General Aung San also mentioned that, well, you know what? This is the matter to be discussed at the Constitutional Assembly. So this is something that I would like to mention this. So this is the very beginning of the dynamic of the discussion at that time. if you read the Penlon Agreement, you can sense the meaning of it. 76 years has been passed since the political dynamic was very much diverse throughout all the history. Water changed, Myanmar context changed. So going back to the previous pen loan for the new nation, I don't think that it would be making sense. But what we do have to appreciate is the essence of the pen loan agreement. We have this seven guiding principles of AFPFL, the leader of which the leader is General Aung San. So there, it talks about the minority rights to be protected by the constitution, and self-determination is guaranteed. Article 202, Article 203 of the 1947 Constitution guaranteed the self-determination. So I am mentioning all of this because we cannot simply copy the history that we had. And it's been over 7 decades. Things changed, dynamics changed, context changed. For the perspective of GSCN, as I mentioned, we want to have collective leadership. This is a way to build the new nation. So I am going to answer with this principle of a GSCN. We have to recognize everyone living in this land. There are standards and values that we have to hold in building the society, in building the country. History, it's to be learned and take lessons for the future. And before 1947, some of the states that we have in this country were never there as well. But talking about now, we have more states, we have more people, and we have more diverse landscapes in this country. Thinking of the collective leadership to design the future country, which would reflect the original Penlone spirit. So this is what I would like to say. But we need to be in line with current dynamic as well, thinking the future, reflecting the Penlone spirit. This is what I would like to say. Thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution. What I learned from you is that we cannot take ourselves in implementing the Penlone Agreement from word to words, but take the spirit of the Penlone Agreement, integrate it with the collective leadership, and build and design the future nation that we want that would be compatible for the future as well. So that is what I learned from you. Thank you very much. Khun Bidu, do you want to contribute anything in here? I just would like to say one thing. We need to observe the compatibility of whatever we talked about. We are not having the ideology crisis and society structure change. The society we have is not the same at all than that of in 1947. We need to consider the ethnic diversity, the geographical division changed. So I would like to say that we definitely have to look at the current dynamic and current landscape in order to determine the compatibility among ourselves. About history, I'm not saying it's not to be completely ignored. We have to take good lesson from the history. There are good things that we can learn from the leader of a history, and we also need to consider the geopolitics of current days as well. And based on all of this, development, equality, fairness, justice, and rights are to be enshrined in the future. Thank you. And you, Amin, would you want to add anything? I just would like to share my personal opinion in order to implement the genuine federalism, the form of federalism, the design of a federalism, it's to be determined, of course. But for me, I personally speaking, I want to have a federalism based on the geographical unit division. But we have all the ethnic group in our country. Um, Structure at this moment is based on the ethnic um, partition, composition, and even if we would have this kind of composition, federalism might still have a walk, might still have its its usefulness. But in the ideal situation, for me personally, we would like to have federalism based on geographical division among the units. And now I also would like to talk about that the representation of each and every groups, which is a challenge as well. And we have majority, we have minority, we have minority within minority. So that's why having all the representation might not be practical, might not be possible, but we need to make sure that we do not explicitly exclude any minority. So, in short, in the future federation, whether it is based on the geographical division or whether it is going to be based on the ethnic division, we need to have such kind of determination. But the future federation is a federation in which we do not particularly exclude any of the group. Since the closing time it's about to be up, I would like to select the final question. Are we to implement the federation with the federalism first, or do we need to get rid of the military dictatorship first? So any one of you might want to respond. Please go ahead. Yebo Newton, probably.
ဖက်ဒရယ်တီထောင်စုကိုအရင်တီထောင်ဖို့လိုလားပေါ့နော်ဆိုတော့ဒီမေးခွန်းက
To the question of do we need to first establish the federal union first, I think this is something, that's something we all discuss. We also always talk about like we need to fight the common enemy first warn the common enemy and then think about federal union. There are also other this kind of thinking as well. What we need is I think it is important to have strong principles and because it is that and because it is something that will come along as well because in the contest and that what happened is that and the NUCC and the NUG, and then if you look at it then they will see that there are also leaders as well, that we have the leadership as well, and that is it comprehensive? No, there are still needs. I think it is important to understand that as well, and that what we need uh, to think is also is that back in the Second World War, there was a saying that that is as a doing by learning and learning by doing. That's what's the saying how it goes back in the Second World War. Because in that maybe in my personal opinion, that it is important to have a strong agreement as well. It is important to have all of us the honesty and this principle and sincerity to say, okay, how are we going to build this union? Well, this is what we expect the Kachin communities expect to have. These are the opportunities we're to have. This is what current expect to have. It is important that all the ethnic groups should also have they have the right to be part of this process as well. And that the problem of Myanmar crisis is about the power sharing. And that for me, that's how I see it. The conflict in Myanmar is all stemmed from the power sharing. If we have a very simple but sincere and honest principle on the power sharing, then that it will also relate to it will also relate to the constitution as well as on the other elements of the crisis. So I think it is important to we need to have strong principles, and that along with the strong principles, it is also important to be able. It is important to have the fight as well, and that it is essential that wherever we go, it is that you also need to know that where do we want to go, the concept and the way forward. We all need to agree on the process and the direction as well, and that common agreement in a revolution, that we have a clear ground and the clear direction and the clear understanding and principles that this kind of revolution will survive and will sustain. Without when the revolutions without sustainability, without survival, then we won't be able to have a federal democracy as well. And that so it is important to reach a common agreement to continue fighting. That's how I see it as well. Thank you. And this answer, I think, has been a big question that often comes since the very beginning of this revolution as well. So that in the chat also, there's a point to answer when you fight the enemy first or get to do the federalism. It's like, do you want to start, start your meal by eating your rice or eating your curry? So I think it is at the same time, Konyotoa said that it is important to have a balanced meal. So that's what. So I think I also like to, I would just like to check with other speakers want to respond to this question. That the question on that. I think I do want to do the federal further first. I think it is important that our comrade has already responded comprehensively to the question. So thank you. Nothing to add. Kombidu, do you want to add anything? If not, we that comrade Newton has responded comprehensively as well, and that as well that so there is another constitution. From that, may I ask what is the timeline to complete their constitution? I think that Kombi too have already responded quite a lot about the constitution, and that as well. Maybe I would like to give this question to Kombi too. That what is the timeline for the constitution? That what is the timeline for the constitution? Is there drafting of the constitution coming to a completion? Can you share based on your experiences? Kombidu, can you repeat the question again? I had a bit of an internet issue earlier. So about the drafting, drafting the constitution, what kind of timeline is it in? Is that draft the constitution, getting closer to come out? Thank you for the question. Maybe Konyoto, I think that And I think it is important that and UCC might be able to respond to this question. So maybe GSCN might be better to respond. Comrade Chondre will be able to respond better because GSCN work with it with that UCC. But I think it will take time. It will take time to draft a constitution, in my opinion, because constitution to get a draft to be able to get a draft constitution is that. That after abolition about the abolishing of the 2000 constitution, we have I think it is important to develop the alternative constitution to the people, to the public, and also to the community is important. But now still in the process of negotiation and consultation, so that maybe Gonyoto will be able to add to the points. So from my side, I would like to just add a few points to their first question, because it is important to we have to do this in parallel, like to the first question. It is not until the eradication of the dictatorship that we can start the federalism as well. On the one hand, we have to build the federalism, federal union at the same time while we are fighting at the military dictator as well, because this is what we are going at the same time that we are doing to track way as well. It is important to fight against the military dictator while we are at the same time doing outreach and explain to the people about the federalism, the importance of federalism, the values and the principles. And it is also important to have a dialogue as well, and that it is also important to ensure that there is to ensure as well that we also need to have a discussion between the ethnic states and the different federal units to start talking about the federalism, federal issue as well. That there's something we all need to do together to that. I think in terms of time, yes, timeline, yes, it will take some time for us to be reached. I think Konjato might be able to say better regarding the timelines, and that we always give about 15 minutes set aside for the question and answer. In every talk show, we use the same link. It's an open link, public link, and we always ask people to come and join the question. And we'd like to express our apologies for the question not answered as well. And the speakers are also answering the question live as well. So please feel free to type your points and questions in the comment as well. I would like to wrap up today's talk show as well. We have been over 1 hour and 40 minutes of discussion. I'd like to thank the speakers who are coming to join us from their various sectors and various schedule.